Welcome back to That Dad Guy. It's March 18th, 2023. We are on part 58 of you guys asking me questions and me responding to those questions. Also, I had some more cards come in for my February question I asked of you. That was question number 1. So in a little bit, we're going to get to those and show you what those cards are. My March question, I'm going to review that again at the end of the video. I've had some cards come in for those, so it's kind of nice. They're continuing on. What I want to start off with this time, rather than doing the cards that came in for question number 1 first, I'm going to get to your questions first. That's why you tuned in, so let's get going to that. The first question I actually have comes from David, and he responded to a video I did, part 5, way back when I was doing questions right in the early on. He answered or asked me a question on that one. It happened to pop up now, so I'm going to read that one and get to the first question. So David is from San Francisco in the United States, and he says, something I've always wondered about is Marmite. Have you tried it? Yes, I have tried it. I'm not a real big fan of it, though. Not to say there's other people aren't fans of it. I just rather, if I'm having toast, rather than putting Marmite on it, I'm going to go with something like orange marmalade, which is my favorite of the jams, or the marmalades, because it's not actually a jam, or peanut butter or straight butter, maybe even Nutella sometimes. But Marmite's not my go-to, and it's not something we have at our house. When I think of food, though, it reminds me of, I mean, that's what I love about food. It reminds me of other things. It's not just you're eating to fill a hunger. When you eat, the senses all come out. You have memories that get jogged with things. I can think of when I eat vanilla ice cream. I think of after Christmas, between Christmas and Boxing, when my cousins from Halifax would all come up. We would make ice cream from scratch. My Uncle Gordon had an ice cream machine, which machine is really not the right word to use for it, because everything was manual, and we all had to crank on the handle when the product was in there, and it made our arms and shoulders sore. And I think Uncle Gordon did most of the work in the end. Us kids, we kind of tapped out early on, but the ice cream was so good at the end. And I don't know if it was so good because we put the effort in to make it, or that the quantity that it made was so small and we could only get a little bit each, because there was 4 kids in my family and there were 5 kids in Uncle Gordon's family, and the parents, I don't even know if the parents had it. I can't even remember that much. I'm the youngest of all of them. So yeah, food has a magical effect that it brings back all sorts of good and bad memories if you have it, and the tastes that go with it. Now, when I think of Marmite, I don't think of my experience eating Marmite. I think of my friend Stephen Haylock. Stephen Haylock, he had Marmite in his house. They ate it. He enjoyed it. I think that's where I first tried it, was at his house. And yeah, he's what I think of when I think of Marmite. All right, I know that's off the beaten path. If I've ever tried it, answer yes, I have tried it. He also has a follow-up question. He says, have you ever eaten insects? I've had chocolate-covered ants. That's the only insects I've ever had. I can't say that it was anything more than it was chocolate and it was crunchy. Would I try others? Probably. If in the right situation, I probably would. But that's the only experience I've had with it. All right, David, that answers your questions, I hope. Let's move on to what other questions are out there. People last week, let me just bring up the video here. Part 57, this is when people ask questions. And we're going to answer them now. Let's see, what do we have? I have some people saying, too bad my question hasn't arrived for question number 1. Well, maybe they have at this point. You will see here shortly. Okay, here we go. New question. This one comes from Lieve in Belgium. It says, I mentioned in my profile that I like most post-crossers, that I like postcards are all welcome. But of course, I have my preferences. Some I really don't like is anime. Do you have a style of card or subject or cards that you really don't like to receive? Like you, yes, and most post-crossers, any cards are welcome. But I have had a card arrive that I really didn't like, and it was just about the subject matter. It wasn't the person that sent it, the stamps, the message, everything was great, but the picture on the front was a torture picture, and it really bugged me. And no turn off of the person that sent it. He sent many cards, and he just tried one to see whether or not I'd enjoy it. I didn't like that. I don't like seeing people suffering. So those cards are not for me. I know people ask for weird cards and strange cards, and there's all sorts of cards that are out there, and all sorts of subject matter. Things that I never even knew that were on postcards are out there. So yeah, for the most part, any cards are welcome, but I don't want anything that's discriminatory. I don't want anything that is meant to be offensive. Yeah, and if it's pain and suffering, I don't want that either. So leave in Belgium, anything but that, please. All right, what else do we have? Okay, Amber from Missouri in the United States says, have your kids expressed interest in stamp collecting as well? What's one kind of postcard you've always wanted but haven't received? Okay, two questions there. Have my kids showed any interest in stamp collecting? Not at all. No, this is not a hobby that they know. It's not really something they grew up with either. For me, stamp collecting was always around as a child because my father stamp collected, and we would go to the post office together, and he'd bring home stamps from work that were in the garbage, and I would help him take them off the corners and watch him soak them in his special trays that are back there now. And yeah, so it was always around me. Here growing up, I didn't really get back into stamp collecting until my father now is kind of out of the hobby. He was in it until he went into the nursing home, and then all his binders came back here, and he still saves any stamps that he gets on envelopes, but he sends them to me now instead of me sending them to him like I used to. So I've kind of taken on the mantle of stamp collecting, and I have stamps back there that need to be sorted as well, or soaked off of paper, redistributed in the world where people that are trading. So it's become more of a hobby again for me now, but my kids haven't been around it. My daughter's off at university. She's not really seeing the stamp collecting side of it, other than she saw it in some of the YouTube videos. And my son doesn't show any interest in it, doesn't ask questions about it. It's just me now. Whether they will in the future, and one day they'll probably inherit this stuff too, I don't know. We shall see. All right, second part of that question is, what kind of postcard have you always wanted but haven't received? The first one jumps to mind is a metal postcard. I've seen them recently. People have shown images of them. Never had one. So yeah, probably a metal postcard. That'd be pretty cool to get. I did get a cork postcard once. That was really cool. I didn't know they existed until I got one. So yeah, there's probably postcards out there that I don't know exist that would be interesting to have, that are made different materials. But I'd have to say, like, the copper postcards or things, what I've seen recently. Maybe they come in all sorts of different metals. Yeah, so a metal postcard. That's my answer, Amber. All right, what else do we have here? Oh, here's another question from David in San Francisco. He says, are there places or special events such as such that you re-explore in your locality with an ongoing sense of wonder? All right, so I guess that goes to the fact that he is from San Francisco, and there's so many other things that there are to do there. And he says, I'm amazed and humbled at how many visitors to the city by the bay gush about the sights and sounds of different cultures that they discover in San Francisco. So much to take for granted. Oh, yes, there's lots to do there. And rightly so. There's lots to do in the Moncton, the New Brunswick area, in Atlantic Canada. It depends how far flung you want to go. And are there things that I keep going back to and re-exploring? Absolutely. I talk about Fundy National Park a lot on this channel. It's one of the places that I love to go. I say I like to go hiking there. I like to stop in Alma and get sticky buns. There are places in the forest there to explore that I still haven't seen. So yeah, there's lots of places still to explore. One of the things that's become kind of a provincial treasure, and it was just opened up because they've created a new trail. They created a trail that goes from Fundy National Park to the town of St. Martin's, and it's called the Fundy Parkway. It fully opened up into to connect to Fundy Park last year, and they've been working on it for a number of years. But one of the things that they explored, or at least they've opened up for the public to see now, is kind of New Brunswick's Grand Canyon. And a couple of years ago, we we went in and looked at it for the first time. It's beautiful. Last year I went and took my in-laws in so they could experience it as well. There's a house that's in off that parkway too, that a lot of hunters used to come up from the US or all over the place. I guess very rich people would go in and go fishing, a fishing lodge and things up there. But it's open. You can go in and have a special high tea in this place. But I haven't seen it yet, so it's one of the things that I want to do. So yeah, there's tons of things that are around my local area to see, to do again, and still get amazed by them that they're all here in my backyard. All right, so that's a great question. Thank you very much. And then I think that is it for your questions coming in. Just make sure I haven't skipped over any. Perfect. All right, now let's get to the binder of questions. We're going to go back. I'm going to talk about question 1, which was from February, the first Saturday in February. I handed out this question and gave you time to send in cards to respond to it. And then the first Saturday in March, I showed those cards. And ever since, if cards have been trickling in, I've been showing them. So we're going to do that again. The question was, what thing in your area would you highly recommend to a tourist to see if they can only visit one thing, and why? Now, I got this card, this beautiful covered bridge. This comes from Hillary in Sweden. And she says, "Hi, Rob, I've seen your YouTube channel that you often show postcards with covered bridges." Yeah, because we have tons of covered bridges here in New Brunswick. Well, this is the only covered bridge in Sweden. It's not far from where she lives. It was built in the middle of the 19th century and now beautifully restored in 1992. So here in Madison County, people are welcome to explore it on your trip to Sweden. Kind regards, Hillary. There are her stamps. And what a beautiful example of a covered bridge in Sweden. So thank you, Hillary. And yes, your card finally made it. She was one of the ones that had commented in part 57 that she was disappointed her card hadn't arrived yet. And patience with post-crossing and cards. It takes time. Some of them get here quickly and some of them don't. But it got here and you're up. All right, the next card comes from Amber in Missouri. And she said, "The one thing in St. Louis I would recommend is the zoo." So this card isn't about the zoo. And I said sometimes you can send cards and the image on the front doesn't have to be what the answer is. So she said she would recommend the zoo. First, it's free. It's pretty big as well. You could spend a whole day there and not see everything. It's also very family friendly. There's the back, forever stamp, nice hedgehog on there. So thank you, Amber. If you're ever in Missouri, you should go check out the zoo. And I don't know if, yeah, she's in St. Louis. There we go, St. Louis. So the zoo she's talking about is in St. Louis. I wanted to make sure I got that right because Missouri's a big state too, and there's probably more than one zoo. All right, those are the only 2 remaining question 1 cards that have trickled in. I have gotten some for the March cards, or the March question, which is, what is the most popular food from your area specifically, and where is the best place to get it? So I have had some cards come in for that already. Very happy about that. I can't wait. We've got 2 weeks till I showcase all those cards. So there's still time if you're relatively close by to send in a card. And if it doesn't make it here by that Saturday, I will be doing the same as I've been doing with question number 1 and showcasing them as they come in. So this binder is well on its way to getting some beautiful cards to fill it up. And I think at some point in time, probably I'll go back through that binder and just show you all the different images that have come in too. That might be fun. I don't know, always looking for different things. I want to say, if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. Really would appreciate it. Like, comment, make sure the notification bell's on so you know when new videos are coming out by me. I try to get them out almost daily. I usually take a couple days off in a week, unless I still got a lot of things going on. And yeah, thanks a lot for being a part of the community. As of right now, we are about 8 subscribers away from 700, so very happy with the progress we're making. So thank you to everybody that's out there. Now tomorrow, I've got to do my outgoing post-crossing, so I will show you the cards that I've picked and where they're headed off to. Well, at least for the official ones. I'm not going to tell you about my friend mail who's getting what. That wouldn't be very good. All right, you guys have a magical week. What follow? You say. like, subscribe, share, and tell all your friends?
Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy?